That 5-cent coin rattling around in your kitchen junk drawer, the one your kid almost swallowed last Tuesday, the one you used as a makeshift screwdriver last month, might just be worth more than your monthly car payment. I need to be honest with you, 99.9% of all 1995 D. Jefferson nickels in circulation are worth exactly what they say they are worth. 5 cents. Melt value, practically nothing. A circulated, worn-down pocket change version of this coin. You'd be lucky to get a nickel for it, and that is not a joke. But here is where the story takes a sharp turn, and you are going to want to lean in for this one. The Denver Mint struck over 480 million of these nickels in 1995, and the vast majority were dumped into circulation without a second thought. They were spent at gas stations, dropped in parking lots, shoved into gumball machines. Nobody cared, nobody looked twice. And that is precisely why the rare survivors, the ones that somehow escaped the chaos of everyday commerce in pristine, untouched condition, are now sitting quietly in collections worth hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars apiece. The contrast is almost absurd. Same coin, same year, same mint. One is worth less than the gum stuck to your shoe, the other could pay for a weekend getaway. Let me paint the picture for you. The year was 1995. The United States was riding a wave of economic optimism unlike anything seen in decades. The internet was still a novelty for most households, DVDs had not yet replaced VHS tapes, and people were still using payphones without a hint of irony. The Clinton economy was humming, jobs were plentiful, and the country was basking in a post-Cold War glow of confidence. Amidst all that prosperity, the Denver Mint was churning out Jefferson nickels by the hundreds of millions, and nobody, not a single soul at the mint, not a single collector at the time, thought twice about preserving them. They were common, they were forgettable, they were, in every sense of the word, pocket change. And that is the irony that makes this coin so dangerous to ignore. Because while everyone was busy looking at silver quarters and mercury dimes, the real treasure was hiding in plain sight, tucked inside rolls of nickels that nobody bothered to inspect. Listen closely, because this is where the real money hides. The jackpot version of the 1995 D. Jefferson nickel comes down to two critical factors, and you need to understand both of them before you check your change. First, condition. We are not talking about looks pretty good condition. We are talking about coins that have never been touched by human hands in any meaningful way, coins that retain their original mint luster, that full, frosty, almost glowing surface that only exists when a coin is struck fresh from the dies and immediately sealed away from the world. A 1995 D. Jefferson nickel graded MS67 with full steps, meaning the 6 steps on Monticello on the reverse are completely, sharply and fully struck, can fetch upwards of $300 to $500 at auction. Push that grade to MS68 with full steps and you are looking at a coin that can command over $2,000. Yes, $2,000 for a nickel, but there is more. There is a known doubled die variety on the obverse of certain 1995 D. Jefferson nickels, where the lettering in God WE Trust and Liberty shows clear, visible doubling under magnification. These doubled die specimens, even in mid-range circulated conditions, have sold for $50 to $150. In mint state, the price climbs aggressively. There are also documented cases of repunched mint marks on this issue, where the D mint mark was punched into the die slightly off-center and then corrected, leaving a visible shadow or ghost of the original punch. Collectors hunt these down with a ferocity that would surprise you, and they pay handsomely when they find them. Your field protocol is simple, but you must follow it exactly. First, gather every Jefferson nickel you can find, check your change jar, your car console, that old coffee can in the garage. Sort through them and pull out every single one dated 1995 with a small D mint mark on the reverse just to the right of Monticello. Now here's where most people fail. You need a jeweler's loupe or a strong magnifying glass, at minimum 10 power, ideally 20 power. Hold the coin under a bright, direct light source, tilt it slowly side to side and look for that original mint luster, that cartwheel effect where light spins across the surface as you rotate the coin. If you see it, you have something worth examining further. Next, flip the coin to the reverse and examine the steps of Monticello. Count them. If you can clearly distinguish 5 or 6 full, complete steps with no blending or weakness, you may have a full step specimen, and that is your golden ticket. Then examine the obverse lettering under your loupe. Look at In God WE Trust and Liberty. Do you see a shadow, a second image, a slight doubling of the letters? If yes, you may have the double die variety. Finally, check the mint mark itself. Is there a ghost image, a slight shift, a doubled punch? Document everything with clear photographs under good lighting. If anything looks even remotely promising, do not clean the coin, do not rub it, do not breathe on it and wipe it with your shirt. Send it to a professional grading service. Let them tell you what you have. Because the difference between a 5-cent coin and a $500 coin could be sitting in your pocket right now, and you would never know unless you looked. But this is only the beginning. The next coin caught the attention of even seasoned collectors. Let's move on to our second coin. There's a coin sitting in your pocket right now that has been hiding a secret for over 4 decades. You have held it, you have spent it, you have probably dropped it into a vending machine without a second glance. The 1979 United States Washington quarter. It looks ordinary, it feels ordinary, it sounds like every other quarter you have ever touched. But buried inside this coin, inside millions of them, is a detail so small, so easily dismissed, that an entire generation of collectors walked right past it without blinking. Most people never notice this. The 1979 Washington quarter was struck during one of the most turbulent economic stretches in modern American history. Inflation was climbing past 11%. Gas lines wrapped around city blocks. The Iranian hostage crisis dominated every news broadcast. Confidence in the economy was crumbling, and people were hoarding silver coins from decades past while ignoring the modern coinage flowing through their hands every single day. The Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint together produced over 1.5 billion Washington quarters that year. Over 1.5 billion. That number alone should tell you everything you need to know about why nobody was paying attention. They were everywhere. They were common. They were background noise. And in the middle of all that noise, something quietly extraordinary happened at the San Francisco Mint, something that would not be fully understood for years. Here is what collectors discovered years later. The San Francisco Mint produced proof quarters in 1979 as it always did, but something went wrong with the mint mark punch, that small S stamped onto the obverse of each proof coin. The first batch of 1979 S-proof quarters came out with what numismatists now call the Type 1 mint mark. Take a closer look. The S on these Type 1 coins is blobby, indistinct, almost resembling a smudged fingerprint more than a letter. It looks like a printing error. It looks like a mistake that should have been caught. And for most of 1979 nobody said a word. Then mid-year the San Francisco Mint quietly replaced the mint mark punch with a sharper, cleaner die. The result was the Type 2 mint mark, a crisp, well-defined S that stands out clearly under even modest magnification. This clue changes everything. The Type 2 variety is dramatically rarer than the Type 1. While the Type 1 1979 S-proof quarter might sell for $3 to $5 in typical proof condition, the Type 2 in the same condition can fetch $20 to $40. But push that grade to PR70 Deep Cameo, the absolute pinnacle of proof quality, with frosted devices floating over mirror black fields, and the Type 2 has crossed the $1,000 threshold at auction. $1,000 for a quarter. The difference between the two types is literally a single letter on the coin's surface, and yet that distinction separates a forgettable proof set filler from a legitimate collector's prize. But the story does not end with proof coins. The circulation strikes. The regular quarters meant for everyday spending have their own hidden layers. A worn, circulated 1979 Washington quarter from either the Philadelphia or Denver Mint is worth exactly 25 cents. No premium, no excitement. No collector is going to chase that coin. But an uncirculated 1979 or 1979D quarter, one that somehow survived 45 years of commerce without a single scratch, a single fingerprint, a single ding on its surface, that is where the numbers start climbing. A 1979D graded MS66 has sold for over $200. A 1979P in MS67 condition, over $300. These are not error coins. These are not varieties. These are simply coins that were struck well, and then miraculously preserved in flawless condition, while billions of their siblings were being destroyed in pockets, registers, and laundromats. And then there are the errors. Documented 1979 Washington quarter errors include off-center strikes, where the blank was misaligned in the press, and the design landed partially off the planchet, and these can sell for $50 to several $100s depending on the degree of offset. Clipped planchets where the metal blank was sheared improperly leaving a crescent-shaped missing portion are actively traded among error specialists. There are also reported cases of doubled die reverses on 1979 quarters, where the lettering in United States of America, or EPLURIBUSUNUM, shows faint but visible doubling under magnification. These are the coins that keep collectors awake at night, turning quarters under their loupes at 2 in the morning, searching for something that 99% of the population will never see. Your inspection process starts now. Pull every quarter you can find. Check your change jar, your car's cup holder, that old envelope in the kitchen drawer. Sort for the date 1979. Look for the mint mark. It sits on the obverse to the right of Washington's profile near the bottom. No mint mark means Philadelphia. A D means Denver. An S means San Francisco, and that is where your focus sharpens. If you find an S mint mark quarter from 1979, you need to examine that letter immediately under at least 10 power magnification. Is the S blobby and indistinct, almost like a tiny oval of metal? That is your Type 1, still collectible, still a proof, but the common version. Is the S sharp, clear with distinct serifs and clean curves? That is your Type 2, and you need to stop what you are doing and set that coin aside immediately. For circulation strikes, the P and D coins, your job is different. You are hunting for condition. Hold the coin under a single direct light source and tilt it slowly. Look for cartwheel luster, that spinning band of light that moves across the surface as you rotate the coin. Check the high points: Washington's cheekbone, the hair above his ear, the eagle's breast feathers on the reverse. Anywhere, any dullness, any rub removes the coin from the top-tier value range. Then examine the lettering under magnification, searching for any doubling, any shift, any ghost image that suggests a doubled die. Photograph everything. Do not clean, do not polish, do not wipe. A single cleaning stroke can erase thousands of dollars in value in less than 1 second. If anything looks promising, a sharp Type 2 proof, a blistering uncirculated circulation strike, a visible error, send it to a professional grading service, and let the experts confirm what you have found. Because the 1979 Washington quarter is not just pocket change. It is a 45-year-old mystery hiding in plain sight, and the evidence is still out there, waiting in registers and drawers and jars across the country for someone who knows exactly what to look for. But we're only getting started. The next coin on this list surprised even experienced collectors. Let's move on to our third coin. There's a $50 coin from 1971 that most people would not bend down to pick up off the sidewalk. It is heavy, it is large, it takes up too much space in your pocket, and for decades it has been one of the most ignored coins in all of American coinage. But what if I told you that certain versions of this exact coin, the 1971 United States Kennedy $50, have sold at auction for over $3,000? Not a typo, not an exaggeration. $3,000 for a 50-cent piece that millions of Americans have handled, dismissed, and forgotten about since the year Richard Nixon was president. Listen carefully, because the story behind this coin is layered with irony, missed opportunity, and hidden value that is still sitting in coin jars and estate collections right now. The Kennedy $50 was born from tragedy. President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas in November of 1963, and within weeks, the United States Mint rushed to replace the Benjamin Franklin $50 with a new design honoring the fallen president. The first Kennedy halves were struck in 90% silver in 1964. The public hoarded them instantly. They vanished from circulation almost immediately. By 1965, silver was reduced to 40%. And by 1971, the year we are focusing on, the coin was struck in a copper-nickel-clad composition with zero silver content whatsoever. That change is precisely why nobody wanted them. Collectors who had been chasing silver Kennedy have suddenly lost interest. The public saw a cheap version of a once valuable coin, and the 1971 Kennedy $50 became one of the most mass-produced, most overlooked, and most forgotten coins of its era. Over 200 million were minted between Philadelphia and Denver that year alone. They flooded into circulation and died there, sitting in bank vaults, dresser drawers, and coffee cans, completely unloved for over 5 decades. Now let us talk about what a normal 1971 Kennedy $50 is actually worth, because I am not here to sell you fantasies. A circulated, worn, everyday 1971 Kennedy half, the kind you find in a teller tray or an old piggy bank, is worth exactly 50 cents. Melt value, negligible. Collector premium, 0. You could hold 1,000 of them and you would have $500 and not a penny more. Even most uncirculated examples, coins that were never released into general circulation, sit in the $10 to $20 range depending on the mint mark and condition. That is the reality. That is the baseline, and that is exactly what makes the rare versions of this coin so astonishing, because the gap between the common and the extraordinary is wider than almost any other modern United States coin series. This is where things become interesting. The Denver Mint produced over 200 million Kennedy halves in 1971. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 150 million. But the San Francisco Mint, the third and smallest mint facility, produced something entirely different. The 1971 Kennedy $50 was struck as a special mint set coin, not for general circulation. And within that limited production run, a small number of coins were struck with a finish so sharp, so pristine, so unlike anything coming out of Philadelphia or Denver that they exist in an entirely different category of value. These are the coins that collectors dream about. These are the coins that hide in plain sight inside old mint sets that people bought in 1971 and then shoved into a closet for half a century. Most collectors look here first, the mint mark. On a Kennedy $50, the mint mark sits on the obverse directly above the date at the bottom center of the coin. No mint mark means Philadelphia, a D means Denver, an S means San Francisco. If you find a 1971 with no mint mark or a D, you are holding a circulation strike worth face value in almost every case. But if you find that S mint mark, your heart rate should increase because you may be holding something far more valuable than 50 cents. The 1971 Kennedy $50 in standard mint condition sells for roughly $5 to $15. And this is the critical but, a 1971 graded MS67 by a professional grading service has sold for over $500. Push that to MS68, and you are staring at auction results exceeding $3,000. The difference between a $15 coin and a $3,000 coin is a matter of microscopic condition details, contact marks, luster quality, strike sharpness, details invisible to the naked eye but unmistakable under professional grading. And then there are the errors. A tiny detail can make a huge difference here. Documented 1971 Kennedy half-dollar errors include off-center strikes, where the coin blank was misaligned in the press and the design landed partially off the edge of the planchet. These can sell for $100 to $500 depending on the severity of the offset. Clipped planchets, where the metal blank was improperly cut leaving a curved missing section, are actively sought by error collectors and trade in similar ranges. There are also reported cases of double die varieties on the obverse of 1971 Kennedy halves, where faint but visible doubling appears in the lettering of Liberty or In God We Trust under magnification. These doubled die specimens, even in circulated condition, have sold for $50 to $200. In mint state, the ceiling climbs fast. The combination of a rare variety, a high grade, and original mint luster is what transforms a forgotten 50-cent piece into a four-figure treasure. And the supply is still out there, sitting in old albums, estate lots, and unsearched mint sets waiting for someone who knows what to look for. Your inspection protocol begins right now. Gather every Kennedy half-dollar you can find, check your bank, ask a teller for rolls, search through inherited coin collections, scour estate sales and flea markets. Sort for the date 1971. Then check the mint mark above the date. If you find an S, set that coin aside immediately. That is your priority candidate. Now examine the surface under a strong, single light source. Tilt the coin slowly, side to side, and watch for the cartwheel effect, that rotating band of light that sweeps across the surface when a coin retains its original mint luster. If you see it, you are looking at a coin that has never been circulated, never been touched roughly, never been cleaned. Next, examine the high points under at least 10 power magnification. Check Kennedy's cheekbone, the hair above his ear, the eagle's wing feathers on the reverse. Any contact mark, any nick, any dull spot reduces the grade and the value. Look closely at the lettering Liberty, In God We Trust, United States of America, and search for any doubling, any shadow, any ghost image that suggests a doubled die. Examine the rim for any irregularities, clipped edges, off-center alignment, broad-struck deformities. If anything looks unusual, photograph it under good lighting from multiple angles. Do not clean the coin. Do not rub it, do not wipe it on your sleeve. A single cleaning attempt can strip hundreds or thousands of dollars in value in less time than it takes to blink. If you believe you have found a high-grade 1971 S, a visible error or a double die variety, send it to a professional grading service immediately, and let the experts authenticate and grade what you have uncovered. The 1971 Kennedy half-dollar is not just a 50-cent piece. It is a 50-year-old puzzle that most people stopped trying to solve the day it was minted. But the answers are still out there, hiding in rolls, in drawers, in collections that nobody has opened since the year the coin was struck. Now here's the interesting part. The final coin on our list has one detail that many people completely miss. Let's move on to our fourth coin. There's a coin that every American alive in the mid-1970s touched, admired, and then promptly forgot about. The 1976 United States Bicentennial Eisenhower dollar. It was struck to celebrate 200 years of American independence, and it was unlike anything the United States Mint had ever produced before. The obverse still carried President Dwight D. Eisenhower's stoic profile, but the reverse was completely redesigned, the Liberty Bell superimposed over the moon, a bold fusion of American heritage and space-age ambition. The date was unique too. It read 1776-976, the only dual-dated dollar coin in United States history. Over 200 million of these coins were produced across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. They were everywhere. Banks handed them out, stores gave them as change. Kids received them as birthday gifts, and then almost as quickly as they appeared, they disappeared into drawers, coffee cans, and shoeboxes, too large for vending machines, too heavy for pockets, and too common for anyone to consider valuable. I need to be honest with you. For the vast majority of these coins, that assessment was correct. A circulated, worn, everyday bicentennial Eisenhower dollar from the Philadelphia or Denver mint is worth exactly $1 in face value, and maybe $2 to $3 to a dealer who feels generous. There is no silver in the standard clad version. There is no rarity in a coin produced over 117 million times from a single mint. But here is where the story fractures into two completely different realities, and this is the part you need to hear before you dismiss every bicentennial dollar you ever encounter. Very few people know this, but the San Francisco Mint produced a completely separate version of the bicentennial Eisenhower dollar, one that was never intended for circulation at all. These were special collector issues struck in 40% silver, packaged in government-issued sets, and sold directly to the public. There were two types, an uncirculated version in a blue envelope, commonly called the blue ikes, and a proof version in a brown box, the brown ikes. These silver issues contain approximately 3/10 of an ounce of pure silver, which gives them an intrinsic metal value floor that the clad versions will never have. But the silver content is only the beginning of the story, and if you stop there you will miss the real prize. Collectors pay attention to this. Within both the clad and silver bicentennial Eisenhower dollars, there are two recognized varieties, Type 1 and Type 2, and the difference between them is found in the lettering on the reverse. The Type 1 variety features thick, heavy, bold lettering in United States of America and $1, with the letters appearing almost swollen and crowded. The Type 2 variety features thinner, more refined, more elegant lettering with clear separation between each character. The San Francisco Mint produced both types in silver. The Denver Mint produced both types in clad. The Philadelphia Mint produced only the Type 1 in clad. This means the Type 2 clad from Denver is the scarcer of the circulation varieties, and the Type 2 silver from San Francisco is the variety that serious collectors pursue with the most intensity. A standard 1976 silver bicentennial Eisenhower dollar in uncirculated condition sells for roughly $15 to $25 today. But a 1976 silver Type 2, graded MS67 by a professional grading service has sold for over $300. A 1976 silver proof Type 2 graded PR70 Deep Cameo has crossed the $1,000 mark at auction. And the clad Denver Type 2 in MS67, over $200, for a coin that most people would not pick up off the ground. The gap between the common and the collectible is determined by details so fine that you need magnification to see them, but those details are the entire game. Here's where the real value hides. Beyond the Type 1 and Type 2 varieties, there's a layer of error coins within the bicentennial Eisenhower series that most collectors, even experienced ones, routinely overlook. Documented errors include off-center strikes, where the planchet was misaligned in the press and the design was struck partially off the flan. These off-center errors can sell for $100 to $500 depending on the percentage of offset and the condition of the coin. Clipped planchets, where the metal blank was improperly sheared, leaving a curved missing section along the edge, are actively traded among error specialists and command premiums well above face value. There are also reported cases of double die varieties on the obverse of certain bicentennial Eisenhower dollars, where faint but visible doubling appears in the lettering of Liberty or in the hair detail above Eisenhower's ear. These double die specimens, even in circulated condition, have sold for $50 to several $100s. In mint state, the value escalates sharply. And then there is the condition factor, the single most important variable in the entire equation. A bicentennial Eisenhower dollar that has been sitting in a bank vault, untouched, inside its original government packaging for nearly 50 years, has a genuine chance of grading at MS67 or higher. That is where the numbers explode. A 1976 silver uncirculated Eisenhower dollar graded MS68 has sold for over $2,000. A 1976 silver proof graded PR69 Deep Cameo has approached $1,500. The difference between a $20 coin and a $2,000 coin is not the year, it is not the mint, it is not even the silver content, it is condition, it is preservation. It is the fact that someone somewhere had the discipline to leave the coin alone, to not touch it, not clean it, not remove it from its original holder for half a century. That kind of patience is rare. That kind of patience is exactly what creates value. Your field inspection protocol is straightforward but demands discipline. Start by locating every bicentennial Eisenhower dollar you can access, search inherited collections, estate sales, flea market coin boxes, and especially old government-issued packaging. If you find a coin still sealed in its original blue envelope or brown box from the San Francisco Mint, do not open it. Do not remove the coin. The original packaging itself is part of the provenance, and breaking that seal can affect both grade and value. For loose coins, examine the date first, confirm it reads 1776-976. Then locate the mint mark on the obverse just below Eisenhower's neck and above the date. No mint mark means Philadelphia. A D means Denver. An S means San Francisco, and that immediately elevates your interest level because San Francisco produced the silver issues. Next, examine the reverse lettering under at least 10 power magnification. Compare the thickness and spacing of the letters in United States of America and $1. If the letters are thick, heavy, and crowded together, you have a Type 1. If they are thin, sharp, and well separated, you have a Type 2, and that is your priority candidate. Now examine the surfaces under a single direct light source. Tilt the coin slowly and look for cartwheel luster, that rotating band of light that signals original mint bloom. Check the high points for contact marks. Eisenhower's cheekbone, the Liberty Bell's crack, the moon's surface detail. Any nick, any scratch, any rub drops the grade and the value. Then inspect the lettering on the obverse for any doubling, any shadow, any ghost image that suggests a doubled die. Examine the rim for clipped edges or off-center irregularities. Photograph everything under proper lighting from multiple angles. And whatever you do, do not clean the coin, do not polish it. Do not wipe it with anything. A single cleaning attempt can erase decades of preservation and thousands of dollars in value in one motion. If you believe you have a high-grade Type 2, a silver-proof and pristine condition, or a visible error, submit it to a professional grading service and let the experts confirm what you have. These bicentennial Eisenhower dollars are quietly disappearing from circulation. The silver versions are being pulled by stackers who recognize the metal value. The high-grade clad versions are being absorbed into certified registries. The errors are being scooped by specialists who know exactly what they are looking for. Every year that passes, fewer of these coins remain accessible to the general public, and the ones that survive in top condition are becoming increasingly difficult to find. If you are not actively searching, you are leaving money on the table, and worse, you are handing a fortune back to the bank without even knowing it. Subscribe now so you never miss a coin that could be sitting in your change jar, your inheritance, or your next trip to the teller, because the next video might be about the coin you already own.